Hi. We are now going to discuss the poems of T.S. Eliot. Eliot is not originally a British subject. He's an American, raised in St. Louis. He will attend Harvard. He will study philosophy there. But he will go to England and live there. And while he's in England, he works for Lloyd's of London. He's a banker, a bank guy, so he has a real job. So he's not sitting in his house writing poems all day. He also transfers or changes his religion. He joins the Anglican Church, and his religious faith will be very important to him. And somewhere in the early 20s, he will write one of the major poems of Western literature called The Wasteland. Written about 1922. Remember that World War I created an incredible amount of destruction and carnage. Again, 750,000 men die in World War I. And a lot of people believe Western civilization is in bad shape. And his poem reflects that because it's about what we've become, a wasteland. Eliot would say that great poetry communicates before it's understood. And a lot of people read The Wasteland and thought, well, we got to look up this, and we got to look up that, and we got to research this to understand it. He said, no, just read the poem. And you read it, and every time you read it, you get something else out of it. But he was right. Great poetry communicates before it's understood. We're not going to do The Wasteland. We're going to do two poems by him. And the first one's Preludes. And so we start by asking, well, what's a prelude? Well, a prelude is something that comes before something else. It's the overture before the musical. It's the introduction to the book. This poem is entitled Preludes. The winter evening settles down with smell of steaks in passageways. 6 o'clock. The burnt out ends of smoky days, and now a gusty shower wraps the grimy scraps of withered leaves about your feet and newspapers from vacant lots. The showers beat on broken blinds and chimney pots, and at the corner of the street, a lonely cab horse stamps and steams, and then the lighting of the lamps. That's part one. It's winter, the death season. It's evening, the dying part of the day. And people are at home cooking their dinner at 6 o'clock. But we get this image of things being burnt out, used up, shot. And there's dirt. It's a smoky day in the air. A shower is falling, but it's blowing around grimy, dirty scraps of withered leaves. We're in late fall, the leaves have dried up. And newspapers have been trashed, and they're being blown against your feet from vacant lots. Vacant means empty. The rain that's falling is beating on broken blinds and chimney pots. We got brokenness. And then at the corner, we got a lonely cab horse. Now, we don't know if horses feel loneliness. Perhaps the speaker's projecting his loneliness onto this animal. And then we light the lamps. But will the lighting of the lamps eradicate all the darkness? Look at part one. We've got images of dirt and things being burnt out and smoke and dried up and emptiness and brokenness. This is the world of the poem that we're in. And so that's evening. We are now in part two. The morning comes to consciousness of faint, stale smells of beer, from the sawdust trampled street with all its muddy feet that press to early coffee stands. With the other masquerades that time resumes, one thinks of all the hands that are raising dingy shades in 1,000 furnished rooms. Part two. Okay, now it's morning, and people are going to get coffee. They're at Starbucks, okay? But you can still smell the beer that they drank the night before. The street is dirty with sawdust and mud, and everybody's pressing to get that cup of coffee. Masquerades Well, masquerades are where you put on a mask and show a false appearance. And time is resuming this masquerade from the night before. But our speaker is thinking about all the hands raising dingy, dirty shades, dirt again, in 1,000 furnished rooms. I think those rooms are filled with people who are alone and lonely. Part 3. You tossed a blanket from the bed. You lay upon your back and waited. You dozed and watched the night revealing the 1,000 sordid images of which your soul was constituted. They flickered against the ceiling, and when all the world came back, and the light crept up between the shutters, and you heard the sparrows in the gutters, you had such a vision of the street as the street hardly understands. Sitting along the bed's edge, where you curled the papers from your hair, or clasped the soles of feet in the palms of both soiled hands. Somebody's waking up in part 3, and laying on the back and waiting and dozing, and images are being revealed, but they're sordid, they're dirty images are being revealed. And those dirty images are coming out of the speaker's soul. Those dirty images constitute his soul. Something's wrong with his soul. The world is coming back now. Light is creeping up between the shutters. You can hear the birds, the sparrows singing. But our speaker now has a vision, and nobody understands the vision he's had. So he sits on the edge of the bed, clasps his feet, and his hands are soiled or dirty. Again, images of dirt, of an image nobody understands. Sordidness. Part 4. His soul stretched tight across the skies that fade behind a city block or trampled by insistent feet at 4 and 5 and 6 o'clock, and short square fingers stuffing pipes and evening newspapers, and eyes assured of certain certainties. The conscience of a blackened street, impatient to assume the world. I am moved by fancies that are curled around these images and cling. The notion of some infinitely gentle, infinitely suffering thing. Wipe your hands across your mouth and laugh. The worlds revolve like ancient women, gathering fuel in vacant lots. The speaker is aware of his soul, but it's stretched tight. And if it stretches too tight, it's just going to snap. And it's stretched across the skies of a city block. And now we've come full circle because we've got people trampling and they're insistent and they want to get home again. It's 4, 5, 6 o'clock. They're going to cook their dinners. They're going to stuff their pipes. They're going to get out their newspapers and sit down and read the newspapers. They are assured of certain certainties. That means they're assured or assuming that tomorrow will be the same as today. The same things will happen tomorrow that happened today. We'll be sitting in the same seat in class. Nothing will ever change. Well, maybe not. But we're assured of that. That's our attitude. We don't know what's going to happen. The conscience of the street is blackened. Maybe it's not working so well. It's impatient to assume the world. It's impatient for the world to change. But our speaker is different. He is moved by an image. The notion of an infinitely gentle and infinitely suffering thing. And we're going to ask who's missing from this poem, and it should be evident by now. But that's okay. Just wipe your hand across your mouth and laugh after you drink some beer. The worlds revolve like ancient women gathering fuel in vacant lots. If the women are in lots trying to gather up wood for a fire, but the lots are vacant, then there's not going to be any warmth. There's going to be coldness. Okay, who's missing from the world of this poem? It's the infinitely gentle, infinitely suffering being. It's Jesus Christ who's missing from this poem. And because of the lack of Jesus' presence and what he taught and his values, everything's routine, everything's dirty, lonely, and not very nice. Even your soul is dirty, just like your feet are dirty. And things are burnt out and empty. And that's what's wrong with the world in this poem.